Sveiki gyvi susirinkusieji į spaudos konferenciją. Joje dalyvauja Lietuvos kultūros ministras Šarūnas Birutis, taip pat Europos komisijos pirmininko pavaduotoja Net Neutrality bei Europos parlamento narė Doris Pack.
MEP Doris Pack. Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you and good afternoon to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, together with the ministers, colleagues and heads of delegations, we today discussed two culturally important questions. I'd like to make a presentation about the first issue was strengthening of cultural policy as an agent for economic growth and social cohesion. We announced a statement on that matter. First, taking into account the culture's position in the light of long-term financing programs for 2014-2020, make efforts so that cultural sectors are included in all further strategies and planning documents at all levels. Second, to encourage policy shapers from other sectors to find ways to integrate culture and creative sectors into their plans, taking into account national challenges and specificities. And third, in order to strengthen the position of culture, to promote evidence-based policy formation, assessing the results of financial intervention, effect and sustainability, in order to achieve evidence-based policy shaping. The second question was challenges of ensuring media freedom and pluralism in the changing landscape of the audiovisual and media works. Lithuania try to draft Council conclusions on media pluralism and freedom in digital environment. We will try to reflect the opinions voiced today during the meeting. And the plan is to approve the conclusions in the November Ministerial Council. I'd like to sum up the discussions. The majority of member states believe that ensuring media freedom and pluralism, first of all, falls within the national competence of each member state. The member states recognize the positive role of the Council of Europe as an international organization, and we encourage that organization to further pursue its activities. The member states do not expect the measures for ensuring media freedom and pluralism to be additionally regulated by any EU binding provisions. However, member states believe that the European Union, and specifically the European Commission, should contribute to research and analysis and should support projects with the aim of ensuring media freedom and pluralism. In future, we will strive to achieve a balanced approach, and we hope for close cooperation with the European Commission in this area. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm grateful to the Lithuanian presidency that the presidency was willing and able to put this important issue on the agenda. Why, would you perhaps ask? Because I'm worried. I'm worried about the situation of the media freedom and pluralism in some of our member states. NGO reports and our own, the Commission reports, only confirm my worries. And the Commission is constantly confronted with calls for action, and Parliament has called for action in two quite clear and recent reports. So have member states, and I know many European journalists and citizens are concerned too. Reason enough to put it high on the agenda. This isn't a problem just for the Commission, and I would like to underline that. It is a problem for all of us. The media industry is undergoing great economic and structural change as a result of the internet. That's quite clear. Their role, a fair and a free media, that supports democracy becomes every day more and more important. And debates about union competence on media pluralism and so on, they are legitimate, no doubt about that. I'm not attacking that. But let's not detach those debates from the substance. What is at stake and the problems we face? I did, and I don't want to duplicate existing work. Please, we do have enough to do. So that is not my issue. But the recurrent problems in several member states suggest that existing efforts are not enough. And in newer EU member states, but also in the older ones. The values of democracy and freedom are part of the fabric of the EU, so to say. They are values we should safeguard and we should protect, including, by the way, a free and plural media sector. Many other countries look to us for just those values. We assess the state of the media in the EU candidate countries. That's a very strict line that is checked, and also regularly demand changes in countries further afield. It just wouldn't be credible for the EU. It wouldn't be credible if EU citizens themselves did not find those freedoms safeguarded. If we did not ourselves address our internal violations and restrictions, people in Turkey, people in Azerbaijan just wouldn't listen. And I know that many member states expressed doubts about Commission competence in media pluralism. I'm not naive. It is a fact. And I recognize that there is no one size fits all when the media landscape can differ so much. So I'm not intending any action beyond existing competences. I am worried about two areas: independence of audiovisual regulators and transparency of media ownership. Those two issues are at stake. We are currently reflecting on possible next steps. I can reassure you, however, that I have no intention to regulate the press. That is not at stake. But I want to be totally frank and open with you. This is a difficult issue to intervene in. It's not something anyone would do lightly, but it's also a difficult issue not to intervene on. And those issues seem to crop up regularly in many different parts of the Union. And they pose very serious threats to our values. In recent specific cases, member states have called for the EU Act, even though it's clear that the EU can only act where it has powers, of course. But we will all need, at every level, to step up to our different responsibilities. And we can't ignore those issues. I'm not willing to ignore it. We can't lurch from crisis to crisis, and we can't each time complaining loudly but ineffectively. And I don't want to have that discussion in Parliament, for Parliament is keeping me alive too, and awake. And I can assure you, I don't want to ignore that part. We can't agree to mutually ignore it. That's not the way I would do it when EU values are under threat in our partners and allies. And I don't think this is an issue we can hide from any longer. If you don't mind, I abuse this opportunity for, this was not the only reason to come over to Lithuania. And by the way, that would be reason enough, so no misunderstanding. But I also discussed with your president, with your prime minister, and with your minister responsible for telco issues and transport, another important issue, and it's related, so to say, with the possibility of having a competitive position for Europe. And it's about the telco single market proposal. Very productive meetings with the minister and with the prime minister and with your president. We need the Lithuania presidencies crucial support in driving through our proposals to complete the telco single market. It's quite a odd thought that we have a single market in Europe. It's our crown jewel, perhaps not completed 100%, but it is there and it is functioning and working. And one segment is not in that formula. It is not in the single market, and that is the telco sector. The telco sector, more than ever, is connected with the digital economy and with all the economic activities and social activities and cultural activities. So we badly need to just do our homework properly. By the way, it is very fascinating. Your country, Mr. Minister, has some of the world's fastest broadband, some of the best connected schools, and Europe's cheapest mobile prices. So we look to your country, to Lithuania, for leadership and support as we go about reforming European telco sector and trying to create the high-speed connectivity for all of the EU citizens and businesses. And it's great that under your presidency, Europe will be hosting the first digitally themed Leaders Summit this month, the European Council in 3 weeks' time, which can really make a difference. We need to use the opportunities of the digital economy to help Lithuania and other countries close the economic gap with the richest member states of Europe. Here is the instrument. Here we can have the solution. And because that connectivity is essential for all the sectors of the EU economy that can create modern, sustainable employment and drive the competitiveness and the productivity of the European businesses, share our culture, share our differences in a positive way, and also give a solution, anyhow an answer for the absolute unacceptable figures of youth unemployment in certain parts of Europe. Let's use a real telecom single market to help us get there. My last abuse for this press conference, but a very important one. I want to be quite clear talking about our proposal, and one of the parts of that proposal is the proposal for net neutrality. It is about the supremacy of open internet. It is the most advanced legal framework of the world, and I'm proud of that. And I sincerely hope that we can discuss that with Parliament in a proper way and in an open way. And we propose legislation that means we are looking forward to a democratic debate in Council and in Parliament. Thank you.
Okay, no, I don't have a paper, so you can be sure that I will not speak too long. I was listening carefully, and I agree in most of the subjects, even with the Commission. Not in everything. I just want to remind you that we have a problem with, with the 700 broadband sector, because I think it's not the time to speak on this. But nevertheless, we are discussing with you on all the other things, and I hope that we can come together. But on the other hand, I think we had today and yesterday two different subjects. Today we spoke on the digitalization of the journalism, which is in a way hindering investigative journalism, because if everybody can see where the journalist got its news, so there is no longer any investigative journalism, nobody is secure. So I think we should find out a way that we are working in the European Union, in the different member states, to find a way to keep our journalists secure. It's very important. It's one thing. On the other hand, I have the impression that we are sharing really the problems we are facing in some of the member states on behalf of media pluralism and ownership. I can tell you I was running 20 years leading the Committee for the Balkans, and I have seen that a German, how to say, not factory, Verlagshaus, I don't know what it is, that they have bought during the different time in the 90s, 46 TVs, newspapers, And I thought at this beginning, okay, they will do something good. They will give them a new input. They will modernize it. Nothing. They did it to earn money. In between, they do not earning money any longer. They have sold it. So I think it was a shame, and I was really ashamed as a German to see this. But in between, we have the situation that we did not pay too much attention to these questions, even in the European Union. We didn't believe that it can happen that in a European Union state, these questions are really questionable. Pluralism, ownership, and so on. Now we have it. And my problem is, if I'm going to Bosnia-Herzegovina or if I'm going to Macedonia, I said, tell me, well, Mrs. Pak, what are you telling us? Look on your own union. Do something before you are coming and teach us. That's my problem, not only in this field, but in this field I think we should do something together, and you know that the parliament is on your side. Problems we will have a little bit with the council because some member states are more reluctant than others. Perhaps also that they have better regulations. It may be, but perhaps they can give us an idea how to regulate individually and then at least coming together. Let me just, yesterday we had also a meeting with the cultural ministers and we had a very interesting conference on culture. And I wanted to give you one idea which was pronounced yesterday and even this morning by Professor Sacco. That we have come in the cultural field from, from consumption to participation via the new media, via all these new tools. And this is really a gift which we should use. These are instruments which we should use because we can make life and people better with this participation. We have seen this morning that Mr. Sacco said to us, listen, if somebody is really participating in cultural events or even making culture via all the new instruments, via the digital possibilities, he's taking part in cultural life. He is aware what is needed. He's always saying, it has an input in waste management. It's true. It has an input in health. So I think it is an input in aging, in better aging. If people is aging and is working in cultural fields, it is really something which is great. And we are neglecting this, and I was very happy that we had discussed yesterday in the meeting and today these problems. And I hope that you get a little bit the smell of this good climate in these meetings with the different member states. And I was thankful to the Lithuanian presidency that they have invited me as a chair of the Cult and Education, Youth, Media and Sport Committee to come here. You know, this is a big portfolio. It is the soul of Europe inside. But we are not responsible alone. The responsibility lies normally in the member states, in the regions, in the local authorities. But what we can afford, we will do. And what we are doing just in this moment, we have really very useful programs, not only Creative Europe for culture, we have also Erasmus+, which is giving a lot of opportunities in education in all meanings. So I think you can be proud that we are working really as we have been elected to work for you, and most of the time we are really together with the Commission, some of the time also with the Council, and I hope all three we are working for a better Europe.
Ačiū kalbėtojams. Prašau, klauskite. Mikrofoną.
Thank you. Now is the time for questions. LNK news program. And my question is for the Commissioner and also for the Parliament representative. A couple of years ago in the Parliament and in the EU, the infamous ACTA document experienced a fiasco. And I'd like to ask you, what is your forecast regarding this ACTA document? Will it be amended and submitted for a new approval, or can we expect a new alternative? What direction should Europe take in its fight against piracy?
It is one of the issues talking about piracy. It's one of the issues that is dealt with between a couple of commissioners, where Commissioner Michel Barnier has the lead. Andrulo Fasilio and I myself, we are involved. For me, it's quite clear that we should indeed fight the real source of this problem and not just punishing in the consequences of such a problem. And therefore, we need to come to a proposal. We are running out of time now for only a year left for this commission, but anyhow, with a lot of consultation and a lot of involvement of groups that are interested. By the way, for me, but then I'm talking about my portfolio, it is, if we are not acting and not acting quickly, then we will be passed by other initiatives, and we should take our responsibility, so to say. My last line is, in a couple of fields, we have seen that there is a solution or a part of a solution by private initiatives, and that are working quite well. And that underlines that in itself, a human being is not interested in illegally dealing with this type of stuff. But if there is a proposal and a solution where you can easily fit on the bandwagon, then they will follow the legal binding. And I'm a strong believer in a decent remuneration for creators and for artists and for writers, and name it. They deserve it. For if they don't get a decent remuneration, then it's the end of the culture, so to say.
I can agree. I think if we don't guarantee that those who are working in this field, earning their life by giving such things via internet to the public, I think we will lose a lot of creators. So we have to give them a right. We have to secure that they can make their life with what they're doing. And we have to educate our people, our youngsters, that they have to pay for things which they find in internet if it is needed. And therefore we have this problem, as Mrs. Gross said. Mr. Barnier is working on this now for a long time. It is very difficult because you cannot make a legislation which fits to all kinds of these things. So I hope that he will find the quadrature des Kreises. I don't know what it is in English. I think he's always between different chairs, and he has to find a possibility, and we will welcoming it if it is found, but it should not be done behind closed doors, be sure. We will do it openly, that nobody can tell us that we are doing something, as I have in mind, that has been done with ACTA. It was not as it has been said, but at least everybody believes that it was done behind closed doors. We were involved, but not enough. This time we have learned.
Dar klausimų?
Are there any other questions?
News agency BNS, Gerda Savitskaitė. I wanted to ask Vice President, in which member states the situation of media freedom is problematic, and is Lithuania among them?
No. And keep it like that.
Paskutinis klausimas, nes mūsų laikas baigėsi jau.
And now time for the last question.
Baltic American International Center, Human Rights Watch International. I'd like to volunteering human rights both in the United States and national of Lithuania. The problem is with the journalism, with media in Lithuania, transparency. And some of the journalists get into trap, and they're being persecuted by the government officials for just one thing. For criticizing, I have personally experienced that, for criticizing the government. Most of the papers are not even accepting the articles on the abuse and discrimination in judiciary. Well, these words come from the European Parliament. Abuse and discrimination in judiciary and law enforcement system by using inconsistent law. well, I got this letter right after Lithuania was accepted members to the EU. And even the president of Lithuania, Ms. Grybauskaitė, does accept the fact, yes, we do face the problem of corruption in courts. And there's a problem with the European Courts of Human Rights in Strasbourg. 99% of the cases are being rejected.
Atsiprašau, būkite malonus, klauskite.
Yeah, so what...
Could you please ask your question?
Ms. Doris Pack and Neil Kroos, sorry if I pronounce your names correctly. We have been emailing this information to the European Parliament, European Commission, but there is no instrument. Do you find any instrument how to cope with the problem of corruption in judiciary? The judge is independent, right, but if the judge is committing a crime, so he should be responsible for that. We do not have this instrument in Lithuania. If you could give us a hint, we would really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Just a short answer. We are not the ones who can change anything in your country. You are an independent country. You are a full member of the European Union, and you have to respect the rules of the European Union, which are for everybody equal. If it is not the case, you have to try to find your right on the court. I do not know. You mentioned the Human Rights Court in Strasbourg. It has nothing to do with the European Union. Our court is in Luxembourg, and this court is dealing with the to respect the legislation of the European Union. What you want is a human rights court in Strasbourg, and it is something which is not under our auspices. And I don't think that you should say that the judiciary is corrupted. If you have proofs, please tell it. But I cannot change it. I can only say to you that if it is like this in Lithuania, you should ask your politicians to do something against. Don't ask us. It's not possible. I cannot intervene. I can say, please do something, but I cannot do anything else. It's not up to us, please.
Ačiū visiems, geros dienos.
Thank you and have a good